Hello to those listening. This is the freest of speech. And this time, I want to talk about this comic I found on the Everyday Feminism website. Now, this comic is under the title of, well, why men, not all men argument is just sexist hypocrisy by some, I think a lady named Ali Kirkham, Kurham. I'm terrible with names. The description will be below so you can go see the comic in the description below. You can go see where the I'll put a link so you can go to the comic if you want to go look at it yourself. Here's the thing. Within this comic, as I read it, it kind of made me wonder about the people who do the everyday feminism. Is do these people understand how a conversation works? And the second thing was, do these people actually pay attention to the things that they write? Because I don't think they do. And when I go through the comic, you'll see what I was saying. So I'm going to begin, well, at the beginning. Now, in the first part of this comic, again, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. They give an example of a parent being worried about the rising cost of college. Now, they use this example and then say that holding up a parent who isn't worried about it is somehow trying to invalidate the person's worries by generalizing that people aren't worried about it. Now, the thing that doesn't make sense about this goes to that back to what I was saying before, that I don't think these people pay attention to what they're saying. And the thing is, we all know the old saying, and I'm personally a giant fan of old sayings because, you know, these are tidbits of knowledge that's been passed down for a long time, so they're pretty much good. And the thing is, the exception to the rule doesn't disprove the rule. And in this example that they use with parents in college, the parent who isn't worried about costs is the exception to that rule. It doesn't disprove the rule. See, it's not even what they want to be like. You're trying to generalize all people so that when I put up this other person, then it invalidates things. That's not how it works in real life. It doesn't work well anywhere. An exception to the rule does not disprove it. In other words, parents being concerned about rising college costs when you hold up a parent who isn't doesn't disprove that parents are worried about rising college costs because the majority of parents can't afford college. Now, that was just the first panel. So let's go on to the next panel. Now, with the second panel, you have a guy and a girl walking on the street. The guy says, women are so shallow, all they care about is finding a rich boyfriend. And then the woman says, well, most women don't. Then the guy cuts her off and says, they're such gold diggers. Now, the thing about that is this. Come to that thing I said about earlier, that these people don't know how a conversation works. Because this is how conversations start. He made a statement that women are shallow. Her response was, most women aren't shallow. So then he said they're such gold diggers. There's more sentences to keep going after this. Long because long I've probably had this conversation myself, saying that women run after money. Examples I've always used in this scenario is you can have the put like this. You can take a guy off the cover of GQ magazine, take one of the most sexiest men alive, make them a goddamn guy at Home Depot. You can take a not very attractive guy, say Bill Gates. Women will throw themselves at him. Matter of fact, there are women out there who will tackle him and jump on his dick with his wife in the room. And some of them will drop kick her out the way. The exception to the rule doesn't disprove the rule. If the majority of women run after men with resources, if the guys then what the comic is saying, because the guy's just going off the observable facts he sees. Women chase money, which in turn makes men want to have money because it makes it easier to get women. So the response of, well, most women aren't like that, is kind of observably not true. Because you ask most women what their dream is, they're going to be dreaming of being comfortable. They're going to dream of being treated like a princess. And the thing about being a princess is, personally, I never got it, because you would think that I should be a queen. But no, most women think about being a princess because a princess has privilege. She has power, no responsibility. Whereas queens have privilege, power, but responsibility. That's just something that I've seen. Going on to the next one. Now, in the next panel, you have a guy saying, I don't get why women freak out over makeup. The woman says, I guess some women. Then the guy cuts her off. I mean, it's basically lying with your face. Now, here's the thing. He's right. Wearing makeup is lying. It is 100% lying. Wearing high heels is lying. Wearing push-up bras are lying. Wearing corsetry is lying. Wearing tight clothes that are specifically designed to accentuate specific parts of your body while slimming other parts of your body is lying. Wearing weave is lying. He's 100% right. These are things that are visual lies that women use to enhance their appearance. The majority does it. The minority don't. The exception to the rule, if you point with one woman who doesn't wear it, does not disprove the rule that most women do. This is why it's a generalization. Just like in the first panel, the majority of women will go after men with resources. That's why it's a generalization. Because if the majority of women didn't do it, nobody would say it. If the majority of women didn't want to go after makeup or some kind of other thing to enhance their physical appearance, nobody would say it. Next panel. And now, in this panel, we have a guy saying, why do women always go for jerks? Then you have the woman saying, look, a few, she got cut off again. Guy says, I mean, I'm a kind, sweet, considerate guy. Why choose someone like him over? Now, exception to the rules, don't disprove the rules. We have that here. And where does it come from? Well, why do women always go for jerks? He is saying an observable fact. Women say, we want this type of guy. But if they're banging the other type of guy that is not the guy they say they want, they are choosing those guys. And if you have a majority of women doing that, it produces the generalization that women want to bang jerks. You can put up a woman who says, I don't want to bang jerks, but this goes again. Exception to the rules don't disprove the rules, and it doesn't break the generalization. And now, with that, let me put in this point I said before. These people don't know how a conversation works. At least with the other guys, you can say they were making declarative statements. This guy's asking a question. Why do women do this? She's trying to say, well, a few women. And then he says, I am what women say they want. These are questions. What is her answer? Because that's actually the important part of this. This is a conversation. We need to see where this goes. What is she going to tell this guy, who I'm assuming must be her friend or an associate of hers, of why he is being what women say they want and women are rejecting him? These people don't know how a conversation works. Next panel and final. Yelling out, nice ass, honey, shake it harder. I don't get this guy, but whatever. Now, she goes up this, why do men think it's okay to catcalled, then she gets cut off, and then the men say not all men do that. Then she goes with generalizing is a ridiculous, radical, rhetorical device, and you all know it unless you take everything literally, in which case you're calling me gold digger, a liar, and implying all my partners are jerks, which means I should probably hang out with you because while all men aren't assholes, you three certainly are. Now, with that being said, let's look at this from the exception to the rule thing, right? Now, the thing about this is the minority of men catcall, not the majority. And the reason that those minority of men do it is because it works. Because if it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. Now, her generalization doesn't work because she's not pulling up the exception to a rule. She's trying to create a rule. See, if all men, the majority of men don't catcall, that is the rule. Holding this guy up is the exception to that rule. Doesn't disprove the rule that all men don't do it. She's trying to use generalization as a rhetorical device in an instance in which it does not work. She is holding up the exception, and because of the exception, everything else she says is ridiculous. And then trying to go with moral, dropping moral elbows from the top rope on these guys, which doesn't work either. Because when she sits there and says that, oh, you think I'm a gold digger, well, we have no more information about her partnerships. We don't know if she'll walk past the nice guy to go get to the rich guy. We don't know that. We don't have enough information. When it says that she's a liar, well, here's the kicker. Earlier in the comic, she was in there buying makeup, which means she wears makeup, which we already established is a fucking lie because that's not what she looked like. And then she says, well, implying that her partners are jerks. Again, we don't have enough information for that for the comment to make fucking sense. We need to see her dating history. And if her dating history has jerks in it, then yeah, she dates jerks. And then to wrap it all up by calling all these guys assholes. And she made it personal. None of these guys who she's been talking through this entire comic made any personal attack on her. They were just saying things that they observed around them. She is making a comment directly toward them. She's saying, you are bad. They didn't say, here's the thing. At no point did they say, she was a gold digger. They didn't say, the dude didn't say, she was a liar. And the dude didn't directly say, you bang jerks. But for some apparent reason, she believes she has this moral ability to just rain down judgment on these men. All this lady did with her comic was reinforce the fact that the not all men argument actually is totally legitimate. Because exceptions to the rules don't disprove them. The person who wrote this doesn't understand what the hell they wrote. The editor who went over this doesn't understand what the fuck she wrote, and this person doesn't understand how to have a fucking conversation. This is terrible. It is ridiculous. And it is stupid. And I feel dumber for actually reading it twice. And this is what's the freest of speech. Again, thanks for listening.